I want to tell you about an experience that I had many years ago. It was 1955, 2 days before graduation from high school, and our class decided to have a picnic at a nearby lake. We packed up and got ready to go. When we arrived, it was a beautiful summer day, but the water was cold because this was in Michigan, and the water doesn't warm up much there. We had lunch, played some games, and then suddenly, I saw some of my friends on a floating platform about 1,500 yards away. They were waving at me to swim out and meet them. I didn't want to because the water was too cold, but I did a running dive into the water anyway. It was really cold, and as I swam out, I started getting cramps in the lower part of my abdomen, making it difficult to kick. I began to panic as I struggled to stay afloat, choking on water and feeling like I was sinking. Suddenly, I popped up above the water, but I couldn't yell for help because of the water in my throat and mouth. I waved to my friends, but they thought we were playing a game. Then I went under again and didn't resurface. It was cold, and I was shivering violently. I started sinking deeper into the water, feeling weeds at my feet and sliding into them until I hit the bottom of the lake in a sitting position. I tried to push myself up, but only made it worse. I felt stuck and began to feel like I was dying. Then suddenly, a voice came into my head. I remembered the voice, but I didn't know whose it was. The voice said, "Andy, you need to stop and rest for a while." Then in my mind, I said to myself, "Are you crazy? I need to stand up. I need at least one breath. I just need one breath." The voice said to me, "Andy, you really need to rest, so relax and let go." I said, "I can't do that." The voice said again, "You need to let go." So I said to the voice, "Okay, if I let go, can you guarantee that I'll float up?" The voice said to me, "If you let go, everything will be okay." I said, "Okay, do you promise?" The voice said, "Yes, I promise." So I said, "Okay, I'll let go." In the moment that the word "let go" formed in my mind, I jumped out of my body. In what I call a no-time moment, I went from one point to another. I was in my body, and then I was in this tunnel. In the tunnel, I felt warmth, joy, and I could breathe again. I was filled with joy and unconditional love, and this transformation was so apparent. From complete fear to complete bliss, it took just a moment of no time. I was so happy, and I saw a body. I said, "It's interesting that I can see, because it's so dark here." I looked at it, and yes, that was my body. I didn't care. When I saw my body at the bottom of the lake, I didn't care about my life. I didn't care about Earth, because I knew I was home. Then I turned in another direction. Now I saw a point of light. The light wasn't very big, but it was incredibly bright. It should have burned my retina. I said, "Wow, that's a bright light, but it doesn't hurt." Now I felt myself being drawn like a huge magnet. The magnet pulled me into the tunnel, and I started getting closer to the light. Suddenly, in a moment of no time, I wasn't in the tunnel anymore. Now I was in the middle of a huge sphere, about the size of a football field, enormous. I was suspended in the middle of this sphere, and inside and around the sphere, all 360 degrees, I saw little movie screens of all my life and everything I had done. The light was next to me. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. I knew it was there. The light and I started talking about all the events in my life, and I could see them. Nothing was confusing. I understood everything. I could understand all lives. I could understand everything I had done. When I focused on any particular screen, I would relive it. Now when I relived it, I knew the feelings and impacts of the people I interacted with in that scene. So if I was talking with my family, I knew what they were thinking, because nothing was hidden, nothing was unknown, everything was transparent. I experienced various lives, from being a female to lives on other planets, and so on. I felt like I was there for months. But apparently in Earth time, I had only been drowned for about 10 to 15 minutes. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here telling you all this. As I looked at these things in another no-time moment, now I wasn't in the sphere. Now I was very close to the light. The distance between me and the light was like the distance between me and the computer screen. I stood there, and the light said, "Andy, I love you." I was shocked because it knew my name. Then the light said, "Andy, we love you." When the light said, "We love you," the entire background and the light disappeared. Now there were thousands, millions, billions of other lights, just like me. They all said together, "Welcome home, Andy." At that moment, I merged into the light. I became the light. I wasn't greater than the light, nor was I smaller than the light. I was a fragment of the light, a holographic fragment. It was the most wonderful feeling I could imagine as a human being, indescribable. In that moment, I knew everything. What do you mean, Andy? What I mean is, I knew everything. There was nothing I didn't know. So people often ask me, when you were in the light, did you ask about war and peace and things like that? I say, no, I didn't ask. There was no need to ask questions, because I knew everything. Nothing was unknown. Now I'm with the light, and the light is really interesting. The light has a great sense of humor, laughter, and fun. When we watch the review of my life in the big sphere, the light would say, "Andy, look how troubled you were by this. You know, in the long run, it doesn't matter. Why don't you relax a bit? Why don't you be happier? Why don't you have more fun while you're on Earth? You're only going to be there for a little while, because it's not real. Earth life isn't real. It's like a play. It's like a movie. There are 8 million actors on Earth, all playing a role. They wear different costumes, different religions, different races, different genders. Everything is different. But once the costumes come off, when the play ends, when you return to the light, the costumes come off. Do you know? We are all one. We are all the same. We are made of the same stuff. There's no difference between you and me. There's no difference between you and anyone else. Here, we wear different costumes to differentiate ourselves, to experience things you can't experience in the light. You can experience things you already know. I can't experience speaking for the first time because I've always been speaking. But when I started speaking for the first time, when I said my first few words, it was really exciting for me. When I knew everything in the light, it's different from experiencing. So for the experience, the light told me, I also knew, because I knew everything. I lowered my vibration, because everyone has their unique vibration. That's where you and I differ. I lowered my vibration so I could incarnate and be born on planets like Earth. Now I'm living the life I want to experience, doing the things I want to experience. From the light, I learned that Earth life is like a play, a temporary experience where we take on different roles and costumes to learn and grow. But ultimately, we are all one, made of the same stuff, and our differences only exist to enrich our experiences. When I experience them, you experience them. Everybody experiences them. It's contributing to the whole. There is only one, and everything that exists, that ever existed, that will exist is in that oneness. And it's a wonderful, exciting, fantastic experience that I remember while using this costume called Andy Petro, of Ukrainian descent, living in the United States of America in 2022. I'm reading my script and doing what I'm supposed to do while I'm still here, waiting until my character is done with this story so I can get out of here and back where I belong. That whole process of being in the light was just incredible, and it seemed like I had been there for years, maybe hundreds of years. But in the light, since there is no time, there is no hierarchy, there is no judgment, there is no separation. We're all one, not in a dull, boring way, but in a happy, exciting, ever-evolving, ever-new experiences in the light. Then all of a sudden, the light says to me, "Andy, you have to go back." I said, "Whoa, no, no, no. You got the wrong guy. I'm not going back." And the light says the second time, "Andy, you're going back?" And I said, "Didn't you hear what I said? There's no reason for me to go back to that planet. I'm home." And the light says to me the third time, "Andy, you're going back?" And when I heard the word back, the K in back, I felt myself being stuffed back into my body. The most horrible feeling that I can ever imagine, just as the most exhilarating experience I could ever imagine was when I left my body and went back into the light. The most horrible one that I've experienced was going back into my body. I didn't want to be there. I still don't want to be here, but I'm doing what I'm gonna do. As I'm hearing all of this and I'm laying on the sand, I'm on my stomach and my head's turned, and they're pushing on my lungs to get the water out of my lungs. This was back before CPR. This is back in the 50s. And I'm coughing the water out. By the way, I never lost consciousness. This is a complete stream from the moment that I left my body at the bottom of the lake until the moment that I got back into my body on the sand at the lake. There were no blank spots. It's a continuous flow of consciousness. Then my body was done. It was laying there, getting ready to become fish food. And I wasn't there. I was in the light. They found the body, but I don't know who found it, and I didn't care because I didn't care about my body. All I cared about was being in the light. When I got up, they said, "Oh, Andy, boy, tell us what happened. Tell us, what did it feel like to drown?" Then I said, "I can't remember a thing." I said my first big lie. I said, "I remember nothing. It's all a blank." That was not true. The vivid details that I'm talking about right now happened almost 70 years ago. And as I'm talking through them right now, I have the same feelings that I had in 1955 at the bottom of the lake. I've relived it thousands and thousands of times, and it never changes. The joy and the ecstasy of being in the light, there are no words. Everyone will know because everyone will get that experience because we'll all come here. We all go back, and we do it over and over again in various permutations, in various galaxies, in various worlds, whatever. It's a never-ending story. I got up, and then I'm saying to myself, well, I can't tell anybody. I never spoke of this to anyone for almost 30 years. In 1955, there wasn't even a word for what I experienced. Near-death experience wasn't created until the late 70s by Dr. Moody, who phrased it and framed it as NDE, near-death experience. When I read his book for the first time back at 25 years later, I was coming back from a business trip. I saw the book Life After Life. I picked it up. I just decided to buy it. I didn't even open it up to look in it. I bought it, put it in my coat pocket, and I came home from the airport. When I got home, I had dinner with kids, then everybody goes to bed. I said, I found this book. I'm gonna read it. I went to the closet, got my book out, and started reading Life After Life. I read the whole thing in one sitting till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't put it down, and tears were coming out of my eyes because I knew after all this time, I wasn't even crazy. All of the cognitive dissonance that were in my head, trying to forget something that I can't forget, afraid to tell anybody of what I remember was a horrendous 25, 30-year period. And now all of a sudden, I'm not crazy. That's a wonderful feeling to know that you're not crazy when you really think you're crazy and nothing ever makes sense. Nothing that I experienced in the light made sense with anything that I was taught and anything that I was being brought up. None of that stuff made sense to me. Finally, now I know it's a near-death experience. And once I acknowledged that, then I started to remember even more. Oh yes, now I know. I'm still really wondering and waiting to get back home. That's my whole point. I want to go back home, and obviously, it's going to happen soon. In the meantime, I'm doing the best I can to, number one, feel joy whenever possible. Why I am here isn't important. What's important is that I am here. And what I'm choosing to do is help people feel better about themselves and help get them to know that there is a home. I've been there, and I'm ready to go back. I got the return ticket in my back pocket, carry it with me all the time. Soon as I find out where the flight is, I'm on it. I'm out of here. Anyway, that's what it means to me. It's a very, very happy process. I'm just waiting in a good way, waiting for the return home. It's so obvious to me, and it's so simple for me. I like being happy. I like being silly. I like joy because when I remember the light was a happy place. The light was filled with joy and humor. I say that the light's like the greatest stand-up comic there is because the light told me the reason why I'm here is to experience joy. The reason why everybody exists at all is to be joy. It's very simple. It's not complicated. It's choosing to love rather than hate. It's a choice, and while I'm here, what I'm trying to do more often than not is choose love over hate. I can't do it all the time because I'm a human being like everybody else, but I can try to do more often than not. Love over hate. Smile rather than to be angry. There's nothing profound. It's simple acts of joy to make someone else happy. And since we are all one, when I make someone else happy, that makes me happy. When I hate someone else, I'm hating myself. If I hurt someone else, I'm hurting me. There is no separation. There is no hierarchy. We are all one, and we are all one in the light. I am a holographic piece of the light that lowers my vibrations low enough so that I could be born on a planet called Earth in a solar system in the Milky Way galaxy during the time of 1937 to 2022, which brings us to today, and it's fine. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.